Hello, Wildcats. Welcome back. This is Monday, May the 4th, and I just wanted to show you who our star performers were this week. I've got a nice list here of people who did some work. It grew from last week, so I'm very impressed with that. In the first column, you'll see those people who were working, and if there's a number in the parentheses next to their name, that means that's how many lessons they completed. So you can see we had several lessons completed. And then I've got the time over on the other side. I asked you to work 90 minutes last week. 30 minutes on Monday, 30 minutes on Wednesday, 30 minutes on Friday. And you can see that we had some people who did a nice job working. So over here on the left, I have our high performers as far as time goes. Messiah had 138 minutes, so he did more than the assigned time I asked. So I got a trophy here for Messiah and a trophy for Mario, who did more than the time that I requested. And then our next top two performers were Iman and Weston. Both of them did a little bit, about an hour, which is great. And then we look at the number of lessons completed. And Moses did one, and Jocelyn did one, and Brielle, and Micah, and Bella, and Marjan all did one. Marjan, I haven't quite figured out how you finished a lesson but had no time. So that's a little interesting to me. But I get down here to my 7th hour crew, rocking it hard. Jordan McAllister and Mario finished 4, so he got the trophy this week, and Jordan finished 3. So congratulations to you all. I'll be emailing your parents and letting them know how well you did completing some assignments. So thank you so much. So today we start block 5, topic 2. And you'll remember in topic 1 that we learned how to make fractions that equaled a half. So we have some numbers here for you to try and do that. So what I'd really like for you to do is to pause the screen and see if you can create those 4 fractions that equal a half using the strategy that we learned in topic 1. So I hope you worked on those 4 fractions. Today we're going to be working on how to generate some equivalent fractions, a different method than we've used before. Let's see if I can get this to go up and show you those halves. There we go. So 2/4 is a half, 3/6 is a half, 4/8 is a half, and 8/16 is a half. Numerators times 2 will give you the denominators, or the denominators and divide it by 2 will give you those numerators. And that's exactly what we did in topic 1. And today we're going to make some equivalent fractions without having to go through that process. We're going to make fractions, equivalent fractions to fractions other than a half. Another way to name equivalent fractions is to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. If we want a denominator of 8, we've got to stop and think, since that's a larger number we're multiplying, what would you have to take 2 times to get 8? Well, from knowing your basic facts, 2 times 4 is 8. If we have to take the denominator times 4, then we also take the numerator times 4. And you've probably heard somebody say, whatever you do to the bottom, or well, to the left, do to the right. Kind of the same thing here. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do the top to keep it equal. So 1/2 equals 4/8. And when you write that out and you really take a look at it, you're multiplying by 4/4. And I want you to stop and think, what is the value of 4/4? 4/4 has the same value as 1. So you're actually taking 1/2 and multiplying it by 1. And you know that if you take any number times 1, it does not change the value. So we're not changing the value of the half, we're simply changing the way it looks. So one way to do this is to take the numerator and the denominator times the same thing, and you will create an equivalent fraction. And we can prove that with the fraction pieces. Another way to make an equivalent fraction is to divide the numerator and the denominator by the same thing. To go from 16 to 4, 4 is smaller, so I'd have to divide to get a smaller number. Using my basic facts, 16 divided by 4 is 4. Whatever I do to the denominator, I also have to do to the numerator. So, yikes, I didn't mean to do that. 4 divided by 4, go away. See, just like being at school, I still make mistakes. I have to divide the numerator by 4 as well. 4 divided by 4 is 1. If I write that out down here below, and you stop and think, we divided by 4 over 4, the value of 4 over 4 is 1. It's the same thing as taking 4/16 and dividing it by 1. You're still going to get 4/16. The only difference is that we have changed the way it looks. We've not changed the value, we've simply changed the appearance of the fraction. Because you know 8 divided by 1 is the same thing, it's 8. 12 divided by 1 is the same thing as your dividend. It is 12. And it's no different with fractions. And we can prove that then with our fraction pieces showing that 4/16 is the same thing as a half. So let's try one together. So we've got 2/3 equals something over 12. I'm going to write it down here where I've got a little bit more room. I want you to try that on your own. Notice the number gets bigger. What would you have to multiply by? What would be your new numerator? Please pause and figure that out on your own. Let's see how you do. That's the only way to really get confident with this. So I hope you did pause and try this on your own. Just learning to copy off the screen is not going to help. But in order to change the 3 into a 12, we'd have to multiply by 4. We do the same thing to the numerator. 2 times 4 is 8. When you multiply by 4 over 4, it's just like multiplying by 1, changes how the fraction looks, but does not change the value. So 2/3 is the same thing as 8/12. Again, it can be proven using the fraction pieces. So here's the last one we want to look at. The 8, again, I'm going to rewrite it down here. I've got more room, is changed to a 4. That's a smaller number, so we have to divide. What would you divide 8 by to get 4? 2. So we do the same thing to the numerator. 6 divided by 2 would give us our new numerator. That is 3. When we have 6/8, we don't have a fraction in simplest form. But when we do have 3/4, we have a fraction in simplest form. Because the only thing that we could continue to divide by now is 1. There's no other common factor. And with no other common factor, that's what simplest form is. You'll remember we talked about simplest form earlier when we had the fraction pieces out, and we said you had a fraction in simplest form when you made it with the fewest possible fraction pieces. Well, this is the same idea, just no fraction pieces. So simplest form, you have a fraction in simplest form when the only thing that you can divide the numerator and the denominator by is 1. And we can check that and see that this one is in simplest form. The only thing we could divide 3 and 4 by would be 1, and we can check it with the fraction pieces. So if you look on Google Classroom, after you watch this video, there is a Kahoot for you to practice that skill. You may want pencil and paper in order to do that. And then I have a Flipgrid I'd like for you to do where you pick one problem from the page in the book and explain to me how you do it. I put an example on that Flipgrid that you could watch, and then I'd like to see you do one too. So read the directions on the Google Classroom part, on the classwork part. I'm having a lot of you not follow those directions, and it's hard to keep track of what you're doing. So I'd appreciate that, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.